Hey y'all, it's Dawn, and I'm so glad you're back. I've got another fun, budget-friendly DIY video for you today. I recently got this unicorn spit gel stain from my Amazon store. I added some to a cup, added some water, and stirred it up. I applied the stain to this wood round using a paintbrush and wiped the excess off with a paper towel. And just look at that beautiful wood grain. I quickly sanded it to make sure I had a smooth surface. I added a piece of painter's tape to the center of the round. I have another idea for this part. I placed my favorite stencil onto the round and removed all the air bubbles with my hands and a roller. I applied a layer of folk art design cream above the tape on the round. And just look at how amazing. I absolutely love this stencil. I removed the tape and dried the paste with my heat gun. I placed another piece of tape at the edge of the stenciled part. Measured down 2 inches and placed another piece of painter's tape. Then painted the center portion with chalk paint. I removed the tape and dried it again with my heat gun. I decided to apply a little more unicorn spit to the bottom portion of the round. I found this cut file at Design Bundles, sized it, cut it out with my Cricut onto some stencil film, and applied it to the round. I applied a layer of matte Mod Podge to the stencil to help with the bleeding when I stenciled it. I used some black stencil cream I found in my stash, and I really can't remember where or when I got it. I used a Dollar Tree makeup sponge and a clothespin. I pounced over Welcome with the black. And then applied white to the bottom. Remove the stencil, and then use my weeding tool to remove the pieces between the letters. Cute, cute, cute. I hot glued some thick twine around the edge of the sign to cover it up. For the hanger, I hot glued more of the twine to the back of the round. And just look at how amazing and high-end looking this stenciled wood round turned out. I am absolutely in love with it. Let me know what you think in the comments. I found this large wood tag in my stash that I had picked up a while back at Goodwill for $4. It was adorable just the way it was, but like always, I wanted to give it my touch and create something beautiful. I knew I wanted to reuse the rope, so I untied and removed it. I gave the sign 2 coats of Waverly Mineral Chalk Paint. And guys, I have fallen in love with this Chalk Couture stencil, and I've used it on several pieces already. I used the stencil and folk art design cream to apply the pattern to the tag. At first, I was going to add a cute phrase, but when I saw how amazing this turned out, I decided not to. I love applying stencils to projects. I find it so relaxing. And this folk art stencil cream is amazing. It goes on perfectly. I used my Cricut weeding tool to remove the paste from between the wood. I wanted the lines to be as crisp as possible. And then dried the cream with my heat gun. Once I had dried it with my heat gun, I used a small piece of 220 grit sandpaper to remove more of the paste from between the slats. After everything was cleaned up, I applied a layer of Jolie finishing wax to protect and seal the tag. And then reattach the rope. This oversized tag turned out so stinking cute. And have I mentioned how much I love this stencil? Let me know what you think in the comments. I used this large 16 by 20 canvas frame and painted it with apple barrel black acrylic paint. I let the paint dry overnight and then came back in with this stencil. I found the center of the frame and applied the stencil. I then used white stencil paste over the top of the stencil and then removed the stencil from the canvas. Next, I applied my favorite stencil under the farmhouse saying, making sure it was level and lined up. The canvas has a lot of give, so I tried my best to make sure the stencil was attached. And then applied yellow stencil paste to the bottom portion of the canvas over the stencil. and removed it. Amazing. I did the same process at the top of the canvas. I turned the stencil around so I was using the clean part on the top portion. I think I am in love. This actually turned out better than what I saw in my head. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Today's video is part of the Stencil It Up collab hosted by CJ from CJ DIY. The co-hosts are Krista from Krista's Crafty Life and LaPriche from Creating It Myself. Be sure to check out their channels along with the link to the playlist. We have all created amazing decor for you using stencils. Now for another stenciled DIY. This is another lost treasure I found in my stash and knew I could make it better. I removed the bulb and cleaned the lamp with awesome cleaner. I think it's time to pick up some more cleaner. I'm just about out. And let me tell you, this little lamp was filthy. I decided to take the lamp apart to make sure I cleaned it well. I removed the felt from the bottom and used a pair of pliers to hold the nut at the bottom and unscrew it. And then cleaned all the nooks and crannies of the lamp. I placed painter's tape around the marble at the base because I didn't want to get any paint on it. And I also taped up the socket at the top. While taping the lamp up, I put the lamp back together. I gave the lamp a coat of flat black spray paint. Next, I painted the lamp with a couple of coats of folk art sheepskin chalk paint because I just didn't like the solid black. I used a fan brush and distressed the lamp with Waverly Mineral Chalk Paint. I removed all the painter's tape and decided I would use a Dollar Tree solar light instead of this nasty plug. The cord was very discolored and just looked nasty. Now for the lampshade. I used a cloth from Dollar Tree and placed the shade on it. I used a marker to trace out the shade. Not perfect, but it'll have to do. I then cut the fabric to fit the shade. This is my first time attempting to redo a lampshade, so let's keep our fingers crossed. I know I will. I used my Cricut heat press to remove all the wrinkles from the fabric. I used a stencil and applied chalk Couture ink to the fabric. The fabric was longer than my stencil, so I had to do this in 2 sections. This is my first time doing any type of stenciling on a lampshade, so Let's all keep our fingers crossed. I know I will. Wow, that turned out pretty stinking cute. I used some parchment paper and my Cricut press to set the ink on the first section of the fabric. I lined up the edge of the stencil with the line edge on the fabric and repeated the application. To apply the fabric to the lampshade, I used Elmer's Spray Craft Bond and a lot of trial and error. Getting the fabric on the shade smooth with no wrinkles was a task, but I was finally able to get it. I'm just glad this spray adhesive didn't dry too quickly. I cut the fabric to fit at the end, folded a section under to create a seam, and attached it. I went around the bottom and top of the shade, folding the fabric under and attaching it to the inside of the shade. Since the lamp will be used outside, I applied a layer of hard coat Mod Podge to protect and seal the lampshade. And as you can see, some of the fabric didn't stick to the inside of the shade. So I decided to trim it off as close to the shade as I could get with a pair of scissors. To finish the shade off, I used some faux leather ribbon from my Amazon store to trim the top and bottom of the shade, and where that footage went, I have no idea, but all I did was hot glue it on. And when I was finished, I had this adorable little solar lamp for my back porch. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please take a second to like this video and leave me a comment. This really helps my channel to grow so others just like yourself can find me. If you just found me, I hope you will join our little family by hitting the subscribe button. If you are already part of the family, thank you so much for your love and support. Y'all are the absolute best. Check out my new Amazon store for craft supply and farmhouse home decor recommendations. All the products I use from Amazon in my videos can be found there. Until next time, happy crafting!